Carlin here, product manager for the Malloy team at Google. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use Malloy to build a data pipeline and show you a real-world use case for this functionality. So my sample data set here is from an e-commerce company, and it's got a couple of dimension tables like users and products, and it's got a fact table, order items, and this is just a single row for each order line item in the data set. I've modeled out some quantities of interest like percent of sales and gross margin, and this is going to let me create some queries that just create some quantities of interest to analyze this data set. So within the VS Code extension, I can do some fairly sophisticated analysis. So in this example here, I'm just going to show you a quick dashboard that I can show. So this brand dashboard here is showing the total sales for each brand, the order item count, the product count, and then a couple of other charts like what are the top categories within that brand, and then what do the sales look like over time. And this repeats for each brand. So this is Levi's, I've got the same data for Ray-Ban, and the same data for Columbia, so on and so forth. Now this is great, but the question is, how do I use this data outside of the VS Code extension? So if I want to send a report to finance and let them take advantage of these reports or these metrics, how do I do that? And for that, I'm going to use Malloy to create a data pipeline. That data pipeline is going to materialize these queries in my database, and that's going to allow me to query those views or tables from any tool in my ecosystem. So let's jump in. So first, I'm going to create a new file using the malloysql file extension. So I'll call it createviews.malloysql. And within a malloysql file, I can interleave Malloy statements and SQL statements. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import this model file that we created earlier. So I'll say import ecommerce.malloy, and this just gives me access to the data model that I generated here. So inside of my Malloy SQL file, I can now just run normal Malloy statements. So I'm going to execute the category summary query from my order items source here. So I'll say order items, category summary, and run all statements. And we can see here I've created, I've run this query. Now, I want to run a SQL query. Now, the interesting thing about Malloy SQL files is not only can I run SQL queries from here or SQL statements from here, but I can interleave or I can embed Malloy queries inside of my SQL queries. This allows me to run DDL statements like create or create view or create table statements. So I'm going to create a view called category summary as, and I am going to just drop this Malloy file or this Malloy statement inside. So this is going to create the category summary e-commerce view, and it's going to create the view DDL is going to be the category summary query from Malloy. So I'll hit run all statements here again. Ecom views should be. Now I'm going to jump into BigQuery. I've got my ecom views data set here. I'm going to refresh the contents, and there's my category summary view. Now if I go to the details, we can look at the view DDL, and this indeed is auto-generated SQL coming from the Malloy query compiler. And we can see it's quite complicated. So now I'm going to just take a look at, see what this data looks like, just to show you. And query is running. Here we go, and I've got the data that we'd expect. So I'll jump back into my VS Code extension, and I'm just going to create a few more views. So I'll create the brand summary, and then here I will create the yearly summary. All right. Click run all statements again, and this should create now the brand summary and the yearly summary views within BigQuery. So I'll refresh the contents, and there we go. I've got brand summary, category summary, yearly summary, and now any tool that can talk to BigQuery can access the results of my Malloy data pipeline. So just to take this one step further, I'm going to jump into my Google Sheets environment and use the connected sheets functionality to pull this into Google Sheets. So go to data, connect to BigQuery, choose the Malloy project, go into e-commerce views, and just pull in the annual summary data. And there we go. So now this data is available to send to finance, and they can do whatever they want with it, or continue their analysis from there. Cool, so in this example, it was just a quick demonstration of using Malloy to create a data pipeline and allowing the results of that data pipeline to connect to the rest of your ecosystem. So that's all I've got for today. We're going to be creating a lot more YouTube content just showing you all the cool things you can do with Malloy. So look out for that, and until next time, cheers.